Have you ever found yourself startled when an older friend or family member, who once seemed so put together, begins displaying habits you never anticipated? Maybe they've started saying things that feel tactless, or perhaps you've noticed physical or behavioral changes that make you a bit uncomfortable. While aging brings wisdom and fond memories, it can also usher in certain ugly behaviors or mannerisms that are rarely discussed openly. Not everyone will go through these shifts, and plenty of seniors avoid them altogether, but they're common enough to catch people by surprise. You might see your formerly gracious aunt suddenly become harshly critical, or a gentle neighbor hoarding random items in closets. Many of these habits aren't malicious. They often stem from physical changes, emotional struggles, or anxieties that creep up in older adulthood. Still, they can be jarring for loved ones, caretakers, and even for seniors themselves, who wonder why they've changed. Below, you'll find 9 of these lesser talked about quirks, explored in a single flowing conversation so you can spot them, understand their roots, and ideally approach them with compassion. You might first notice an older adult becoming unusually self-focused, as though their empathy has dulled. That once patient grandparent who would listen to your stories for hours might now dismiss your concerns, steering every conversation back to their own health or finances. It's not exactly vanity, but rather a narrowing of perspective. With age, aches, worries about mortality, and daily inconveniences can overshadow the broader world. What was once an easy practice of listening to others might suddenly feel burdensome when you're constantly fatigued or preoccupied with doctor visits. Loved ones can perceive this as arrogance or callousness, but in reality, it often arises from seniors feeling overwhelmed by their own body's changes. A mild conversation about how you value their input, yet also need them to hear you out, could ease tensions. If they're open, gentle reminders that you too have daily struggles might nudge them back to a more balanced outlook. That said, it's not always a quick fix. Deep-seated fears or pain can fuel this self-preoccupation, so expect patience and consistent kindness to make the difference. Another surprising shift. An older adult may let personal hygiene slip, moving from a lifetime of neatness to skipping showers or reusing the same clothes for days. For onlookers, this can be startling, bordering on repulsive if odors develop. But the reasons can vary. Diminished sense of smell, fear of falling in the bathroom, pain while lifting arms to wash hair, or even a subtle depression draining motivation. Some seniors also lose track of time, forgetting how long it's been since they laundered shirts. If they live alone, no one might notice until an unpleasant smell creeps in. Approaching this subject can feel awkward, but a gentle approach often works better than scolding. Sometimes all that's needed is a safer bathroom setup, maybe grab bars or a shower bench, so they don't feel at risk. Or a caretaker could assist them with laundry on a set schedule. When pride stands in the way, framing it as "I'd love to help you keep comfortable" instead of "you smell bad" can preserve dignity. It's an ugly reality that seniors don't always manage self-care the way they used to, but acknowledging the possible causes is the first step in offering real help. A third behavior many find jarring is the hoarding tendency that pops up in older age. You open a closet and find it bursting with decades of newspaper clippings, plastic containers, or clothes from the 1970s. Or you see a garage filled with items they insist they might use someday. This hoarding can reflect fear of scarcity. Perhaps they recall lean times from childhood, or worry they won't afford replacements. It might also symbolize nostalgia, each object tied to a memory they can't bear to let go. Alternatively, mild cognitive decline might impair decision-making, so they avoid throwing anything out. From the outside, it can look like chaos and eventually become a safety hazard if piles block hallways. The best approach can be a slow, respectful conversation. Talk about how some items might be donated to help others or stored in a more organized way. If you threaten to toss everything, you risk escalating their anxiety and prompting them to guard their clutter even more fiercely. Instead, proceed gently, focusing on the emotional reasons behind each saved object. Over time, you might coax them to part with duplicates or truly irrelevant junk, which can restore a sense of openness and safety to the home. You may also encounter an unexpected cruelty or bluntness in their speech. What once was filtered might come out in raw form. It could be direct criticisms, "You've gained weight," or "That haircut is awful," stated with zero hesitation. Younger family members can feel wounded by these remarks. It's as though the older person has lost the social filter that used to guide polite conversation. Sometimes this stems from frustration or bitterness about their own physical decline, lashing out unconsciously at others. Sometimes, mild cognitive impairment lessens the ability to sense how words affect people. Or it might be a newfound apathy about social norms. "I'm old, I can say what I want." Addressing it often requires quiet, one-on-one talks, pointing out that certain statements cause pain. If they respond with, "I'm just telling the truth," consider explaining that tact can preserve warmth in relationships. Offering alternative phrases or redirecting them gently can help. If the bluntness indicates deeper personality shifts, from something like dementia, professional advice may be necessary. While it's not pretty, acknowledging this ugly side often fosters more patience in loved ones who see it as part of aging's complexities. Another ugly pattern that emerges is the fixation on medical complaints. Some seniors develop a near obsession with their health, constantly talking about medications, test results, or each new symptom. They might corner you for half an hour detailing the color of their phlegm or the intricacies of last week's doctor visit. While it's natural to have more health concerns as the body changes, the incessant focus can push away friends who tire of hearing about it. They don't realize how dominating health talk can stifle other conversations. This can also manifest as doctor shopping for multiple opinions, or refusing to follow any one physician's advice, spurred by distrust. Fear underlies much of this behavior. Fear that a missed symptom could be fatal, or that medical professionals aren't giving them the right care. Approaching it with empathy, while also setting gentle boundaries, might help. You could say, "I understand you're worried about your knee, but maybe we can talk about something lighter for a bit." Offer to accompany them to appointments so they feel supported, but encourage them to find other interests or social outlets that don't revolve around medical updates. Over time, balancing compassion with mild redirection can reduce the endless cycle of health-centric conversation. Then there's the phenomenon of extreme negativity or constant complaining, often regarding small changes in the world. That might include ranting about how groceries aren't as fresh, or how today's youth have no manners, or the government is always messing something up. While healthy skepticism can be part of aging wisdom, an unrelenting stream of complaints can suck the joy out of the air for everyone else. Sometimes it's triggered by a sense of loss, missing the good old days, or feeling powerless about modern technology. Or maybe heartbreak over not being able to run a household the way they once did seeps out as bitterness. Family might label them grumpy, but these rants can reflect deeper sadness or the sense that life has slipped beyond their control. Telling them stop whining rarely helps. Instead, you might engage them in positive recollections or purposeful activities that let them feel effective. It can also help to gently challenge their statements. "Is there anything that's improved nowadays?" Or, "What do you enjoy about how life is now?" Nudging them to see small positives might gradually open them up. If they carry significant depression, professional counseling might provide the relief they need. The negativity can be ugly, but underneath, it's typically a reflection of deeper pains. You might also find some seniors pulling back from personal relationships, closing themselves off from friends, children, or grandchildren. That retreat can look unfriendly, like ignoring phone calls, snapping at visitors, or refusing invites. Often, it's not about disliking people, but about feeling drained or anxious. Physical exhaustion might make social gatherings feel daunting, while hearing loss can make group conversations stressful if they can't follow along. Fearing they'll appear feeble can lead them to isolate, preserving dignity in their own eyes. Alternatively, mild cognitive decline might spark embarrassment. They don't want others noticing lapses in memory. The outcome is a lonely circle, as well-intentioned loved ones sense rejection, while the older person continues pulling away. If you see it happening, consider smaller, quieter meetups, a one-on-one lunch instead of a huge family party. Encourage them with words like, "Your presence matters to me," or "We can keep it short if you're tired." Once they realize they can still enjoy contact without strain, they might re-engage. Patience is key. Pushing too forcefully can make them dig in their heels, feeling bombarded or pitied. An eighth ugly phenomenon might be newfound stinginess or obsession with finances. A senior might have a solid nest egg yet constantly worry about running out, becoming frantic over small expenses or scolding family members for any purchase deemed unnecessary. You might see them reusing ancient, unsafe kitchen tools to avoid buying replacements, or fighting with service people to get a discount. This miserliness can extend to refusing gifts or charitable donations they once happily made. While sometimes it's a rational concern about living on a fixed income, it can also come from anxiety about the unknown length of retirement. Perhaps they've watched peers outlive their savings. Others might develop mild paranoia or mental confusion, suspecting that everyone is out to scam them. Loved ones can find this heartbreaking, watching a once generous person melt down over a minor cost. The best route often involves gentle, financial planning discussions. Show them the math, a safe monthly allowance for groceries, or a modest buffer for unexpected medical bills. If they see a stable plan, they might relax. For those with deeper mental changes, professional oversight, like an accountant or a trusted power of attorney, might become necessary. Meanwhile, try not to mock them for being cheap. Fear can drive them more than genuine greed. Finally, there's the potential for older adults to become fixated on morbid or fatalistic topics, discussing death incessantly, or making dark jokes about not having long to live. This can unnerve family members who want a cheerful visit, not a constant reminder of mortality. Sometimes such talk signals unresolved fears or regrets. Someone who never fully processed the concept of aging might now face it head-on with little emotional buffer, or they might find comfort in speaking bluntly about funeral details, wanting to be prepared and rid themselves of denial. Younger relatives might interpret this as ugly gloom, but ironically, it can be a coping mechanism. That said, if every conversation circles back to, "I'll die soon, so what's the point?" it might suggest depression or hopelessness. Balancing respect for their right to acknowledge mortality with encouragement for them to still find meaning is delicate. You can validate that it's normal to think about end-of-life plans, but also gently steer them toward what they still enjoy, like a hobby or a special pastime. If the constant death talk weighs heavily on them or you, professional counseling or spiritual guidance might bring relief and shift the tone away from perpetual darkness. All of these behaviors, self-centeredness, slipping hygiene, hoarding, blunt speech, health obsession, endless negativity, social withdrawal, stinginess, and morbid fixations, can sound off-putting. But it's vital to remember they often arise from deeper emotional or physical changes. Aging can bring vulnerabilities that many seniors never anticipated, from chronic pain to feeling overshadowed by a rapidly changing world. Whether you're a concerned child, a caregiver, or a senior noticing these changes in yourself, the best step is to approach them with empathy. Ask, what might they be fearing or struggling with, rather than labeling them as simply difficult. Sometimes small adjustments, a safe shower setup, a patient conversation about finances, a quieter group gathering, can drastically reduce these ugly outbursts or habits. Other times, professional help or therapy might be needed if the senior is deeply entrenched in a behavior that risks their health or relationships. Should you find yourself developing any of these traits, try to bring awareness to the triggers. Do you lash out whenever your knees ache? Have you stopped socializing because hearing aids frustrate you? Recognizing the cause can help you curb or redirect the behavior before it drives people away. If you're on the receiving end, pick your battles gently. Harsh confrontation rarely helps. Instead, consistent small nudges, praising them for any attempt to be more thoughtful or engaging, can reinforce positive shifts. Remind them you care about their well-being, not just about them stopping an ugly habit. Over time, you might see breakthroughs. A senior reemerges from hoarding, or they accept help with bathing, or they gradually lighten their negativity by focusing on a newly found passion. Aging is a complex journey full of joys like grandchildren and free time, but also overshadowed by loss or limitations. These 9 ugly behaviors are rarely discussed because society often wants to idealize old age or reduce seniors to stereotypes. A more honest view acknowledges the tricky, even unpleasant changes that can arise. Yet it also underscores that none of these behaviors must define a person fully. Understanding the roots can lead to solutions that preserve dignity, from medical support to social reinforcement. If you're seeing these habits in yourself or a loved one, take it as a cue to dig deeper, maybe reestablish a sense of purpose, or address the pains fueling negativity. With patience, empathy, and practical measures, even these challenging quirks can be managed, letting you or your loved ones enjoy the later years with grace. So yes, the ugly truths might be uncomfortable, but they don't have to overshadow the beauty and wisdom that also come with advancing age. By bringing these issues to light, we can face them bravely, ensuring that the path forward remains one of continued growth and understanding for seniors and those who love them.